Hello, welcome to the Climate Channel. I'm Tanny.
I'm Ifrat.
I'm Sylvia.
And I'm Sophia.
Recently, the weather's been really crazy. Although we're in a COVID lockdown, without the cold weather, I at least had the opportunity to go outside, get some fresh
Organization
air,
that dedicates
take some
itself to helping.
walks, go to the park. But now I've been staying at home more, and it's really been affecting my mental health negatively.
Me too. It's been weeks since I last left my house. Due to the recent snow, it's been harder than ever to be able to leave my house.
Yeah, it's not just you. So many people around the world are struggling with their mental health because COVID and mass isolation takes a toll on everyone's emotions.
I thought I was the only one. Why is this the thing?
COVID is making many people's mental health worse because it presents macro ambient stressors, which can be non-specific and all-consuming.
Wait, what's an ambient stressor?
An ambient stressor is stress placed on you based on the environment you are in. Right now, we're not in a great circumstance due to the pandemic, causing our mental health to decrease. For example, you walk out your front door or go to a grocery store and there are signs all around that the world is different than it was a year ago. This can be incredibly unnerving and unsettling for many, especially those disadvantaged populations who might already be susceptible to mental illness.
This is so true. I can't even see people's faces anymore when I go out. Not to mention everyone is 6 feet apart, not talking. There's signs everywhere that remind us that we need to be socially distant. It really reminds me that I haven't seen my friends in almost a year. I really just want to go back to a world where everyone was talking, laughing, hugging, being social, going places together.
Oh, for sure. I miss it so much. Another reason why COVID has caused an increase in depression is because it robs people of the usual psychological resources that help us cope with stressful situations. In particular, it's called mastery, which is also a sense of control over your life and immediate surroundings. And without this valuable resource, mental health problems have become much more likely.
I'm a little unfamiliar with this. Could you explain?
Yeah, definitely. Emotional mastery is the process of becoming aware of and learning to direct your emotional states. Due to the ongoing pandemic, people lose the mental health resources they once had. This means that people that once attended therapy, went on walks, meditated with a friend, and had other coping strategies that involve other people would be unavailable to them due to the social distancing measures in place.
That's really upsetting to hear. Although these rules have been put in place to protect our physical health, our mental health is just as important. It's sad knowing people do not pay any attention to gathering more mental health resources. How else has COVID affected mental illness?
This pandemic has also exacerbated the stressors that people might have already been facing. For instance, we know those with economic hardships are the first to lose their jobs in the lockdown. Parents with young children are struggling without the option of childcare. And as Sylvia said, we should be caring more about helping people with mental health. I, for one, know my school sends a lot of emails about, oh, please take care of your mental health. Please do this. Please do that. But they don't actually help. They just remind us that mental health is a thing, but they still give us so much homework in only 2 months without actually caring about our mental health.
Yes, I felt that problem, and so many other people, like on TikTok, they talk about these struggles of how their schools, it seems like it's just performative activism, and like they're just faking the care because they're not actually giving us proper resources to help deal with the mental health. While, like you said, they're piling us with so much homework. Another thing they talk about that I've seen is that they talk about their parents like losing their jobs and how they need help, and they're like asking for donations because of COVID-19. It's so heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm. An increase of depression symptoms in Canada was more than threefold higher during COVID-19 compared with before the COVID-19 pandemic. Individuals with lower social resources, lower economic resources, and greater exposure to stressors like Kani and Sophia mentioned, job loss, is reported a greater burden of depression symptoms.
For sure. And other negative reactions during a global pandemic include fear and worry about your own health status and that of your loved ones who may have been exposed to COVID-19, changes in sleeping or eating patterns, difficulty sleeping or concentrating, which is very unhelpful for students, seeing that we have to get proper sleep and concentrate a lot, and the worsening of chronic health problems.
COVID isn't the only reason for people's declining mental health. Extreme weather, sudden weather changes, and climate change play a role in it too. Seasonal affective disorder, also known as SAD, is a type of depression that relates to changes in seasons. SAD begins and ends at about the same times every year. If you're like most people with SAD, your symptoms start in the fall and continue into the winter months, sapping your energy and making you feel more moody. Less often, SAD causes depression in the spring or early summer too.
There are many signs and symptoms of SAD, some of which are feeling depressed most of the day or nearly every day, losing interest in activities you once enjoyed, having low energy, having problems sleeping, experiencing changes in your appetite or weight, feeling sluggish or agitated, having difficulty concentrating, feeling hopeless, worthless, or guilty, and having frequent thoughts of death or suicide.
Yeah, and this has to do with your biological clock, which is also known as the circadian rhythm. The reduced level of sunlight in fall and winter may cause winter onset SAD, which is also known as seasonal affective disorder. This decrease in sunlight may disrupt your body's internal clock and lead to feelings of depression.
Yeah, SAD or SAD also does affect people during the spring and the summer, but it's usually seen during the winter and the fall months because it's colder and there's less sunlight, there's snowstorms, all of that. The increase of darkness causes oversleeping, which can lead to problems like weight gain, appetite changes, tiredness, and low energy.
Yeah, actually, people who live farther from the equator are at a higher risk of having SAD because of that.
This can also be related to neurotransmitters in your brain. A drop of serotonin that affects mood might play a role in SAD. Reduced sunlight can cause a drop in serotonin that might trigger depression. This change in season also disrupts the balance of the body's level of melatonin, which plays a role in sleep patterns and mood.
I'm actually familiar with SAD because my friend has it and she's told me all about her struggles with it. She shows many of these symptoms and it's terrible for me to see. During the summer, her mood stays normal, she hangs out with her friends, yada yada. But once the seasons start changing, her seasonal depression hits. She withdraws from social situations and schoolwork, and I see her less as she stops coming to school, stops hanging out. I actually haven't spoken to her much recently due to her depression stopping her from replying. And a lot of people think that, oh, they're just lazy. They can get up at any time and just text back with their phone. But in reality, it has to do with like Sylvia said, it has to do with your brain's chemicals. Things like not having enough serotonin in your brain actually prohibit you from getting up. So something that might seem easy to you, like getting up, getting your phone, is actually impossible for these people simply because their brain won't let them do it.
For sure. Sorry. I'm so tired of the stigma around mental health, like specifically depression, because of all like the negative things that people have to say about it, when in reality, the people who have it, they're victims, like they are struggling themselves. And related to your experience, my friend also deals with depression, but it's mainly the general disorder and not the seasonal one. And from what she's told me, it's only gotten worse being isolated from the COVID-19 pandemic with nothing to distract her from her negative thoughts.
Yeah, and some of the problems are social withdrawal, school and work problems, and suicidal thoughts. This can even lead to problems like substance abuse or other mental health problems like eating disorders or anxiety.
Yeah, so this one problem can actually cause a lot of problems. So another thing that can happen is your seasonal depression, it can start getting longer and longer, and it could turn into, and you could start developing depression. And in this scenario, it would be best to see a health professional like your family doctor, a therapist, a psychologist. Also, If you have a pre-existing condition such as bipolar disorder, having SAD is more likely.
But it's not all that. COVID and programs like Bell Let's Talk have made many people realize the importance of mental health, and we're already seeing an influx of mental health help available.
For sure. Kids Help Phone is a great example of an incredible organization that dedicates itself to helping the youth with their mental health struggles. If you or anyone you love is struggling with their mental health, call Kids Help Phone at 1-800-668-6868 or texting CONNECT to 686868.
Other helplines that might be helpful include the Hope for Wellness helpline, which is 1-855-242-3310, and the Crisis Service Canada hotline, which is for thinking about suicide. The number for the Crisis Service Canada hotline is 1-833-456-4566.
Thank you for these resources. I think it's so important to talk about mental health and like have conversations about it, because there's so much stigma around it, and it's really upsetting because like no matter who you are, at some point in your life you will deal with like mental health struggles, and it's really important to like have that conversation and like keep the topic open and not like a shameful thing, so that it doesn't get worse and lead to like suicide or like many more people who are dealing with problems.
I know for a fact that a lot of parents don't believe in mental illness because that's what they were taught when they were kids. And then when their children have mental health issues, they say, oh, just study more, just do this more, just do that more, right. just be happy, just get off your phone, just don't do this, don't do that, without realizing that it is an actual issue inside their brain, not in their head. It's a chemical imbalance inside your brain. So I feel like we need to destigmatize it now, so our next generation of children don't have to face the guilt and shame of being weird and going to the therapist, when in reality, it's like going to a family doctor. Breaking your leg is the same as having a mental disorder, because it's something that maybe not breaking your leg. Actually, yes, breaking your leg, because you can't control it. You have to get help.
Oh, for sure. And you know, the irony is that most of the people who stigmatize mental health, like for example, a lot of parents, they deal with it themselves. They just don't realize it. So it's important for them to get help too. And like you said, we need to make sure that like the future generations, they don't have to deal with this.
Because a lot of these mental illnesses like SAD are actually hereditary. If your parents have it, you probably have it. So when you talk about your issues to your parents, they can be like, oh, I had to deal with this when I was a kid. And yes, you had to, but most people don't, which is why it's important to go see a therapist or someone who can actually help. So your problems and all our problems can be better, and we can move forward as regular citizens of society.
Yes, 100%. But in conclusion, your mental health is extremely important. Please reach out if you need any help using the resources we provided, and stay safe. Have a good day. Thank you for tuning in to the Climate Channel.
Bye.
Bye.